It's just the third series in a series of sketch constraints I wanted you to explore. So we still have the charging cube open from before. So I'm going to come down here and click on tuning fork. Now you'll see this is not in any way a completed sketch, but before we dive into this, I want you to see what is a tuning fork. A lot of you may not know. So tuning fork is simply, it looks like this, and it is often used to tune musical instruments. If you look down here, you'll also see it can be used by doctors to test a patient's hearing. So there are a couple of different uses for these devices. So let's go back. I want you to also see what the dimensions are going to be for this. So here we go. There are the dimensions. I'm going to use the biggest dimensions on all of these ranges. So there are different size tuning forks, which will obviously give you a different sound when you hit it. So the longer ones will give you a different sound than the shorter tuning forks. All right. So here is the sketch. And again, I did a split screen so that you can see the drawing and the sketch all at once. All I want you to draw right now for this sketch is the U shape. We're not going to do the handle right now. So let's go into the sketch. Just double click. I'm going to put it on a front view. And this really bothers me here, so I'm going to start by just closing that up. So obviously you're going to want a coincident constraint. And I really don't like that this is not a horizontal line. So there we go. All right, let's start adding some dimensions. We know that A is going to be 50, so A is just the length of this line. Or we could also say it's the distance from that end point to the center. And these are in millimeters, and this document's in units, so I'm going to have to type mm after each one of these. And the nice thing about Onshape is, if you noticed, it just scaled everything so that when I sized this one piece, everything else scaled with it. If you remember, Inventor would leave everything else the same size, and your sketch would, what I would call, blow up or almost explode, and everything would look wrong. So it's really nice that Onshape scales this for you. Let's see, B, which is the width of the leg here, is going to be 5 millimeters. And I'm going to not have you watch all this, but I'm going to come back and you'll see everything's dimensioned. Actually, the last dimension that was left was this 7 right here, because all the rest of this, as you can remember in my work with Inventor before, is I don't want you to dimension these again, because if we say want to make this a smaller one, I don't want you to have to change every dimension twice. I'd rather you just change these. So we're going to set some things equal. So I'm going to make these two endpoint lines equal so they are the same height. And if you remember last time we did a sketch like this, we did this line was collinear to that line. Now there are a few other ways you can do this, but what I want you to notice here, I'm going to make this bigger. What I really want you to notice in Onshape is there is no collinear constraint. We used that a lot in Inventor. The way to get around this, though, if you remember, is that another way, if you don't want to say they're collinear, is you could say this point and this point lie on the same vertical line. So what I'm going to do instead of collinear is I'm going to pick the vertical constraint, and I'll just pick 2 points, and then it'll make those 2 points be vertically aligned. So we did something similar to this before. Now, why aren't these constrained? You may notice that these dots are not in line with the center of that circle, which just means it's not tangent. But if you don't see that right away, one thing you can do is try to move some things around, like I used to tell you to do in Inventor. And now you can see it's clearly not tangent. So you can either make this be tangent, or you can make these 2 line lengths be equal. So I'm going to use a tangent since we haven't used that one yet. And I'm just going to pick the circle and the line, which is pretty straightforward. And now you can see we have a fully constrained sketch. There are no blue entities on this sketch. So you can snip this sketch as well now and turn that into the sketch constraint document or worksheet. So remember, what I really wanted you to do as a takeaway here is that there is no collinear, but you can use vertical or horizontal tools as needed for that. You can also imagine a situation where your collinear lines are not on the horizontal or vertical axes, or not parallel to those. So you would have to do a combination of, say, coincident, a point to a line, parallel, that kind of thing. There are ways to work around it. There's just no collinear.